Welcome to Die Hard live from Skankfest. For my listeners who aren't drug addicts or wrestling fans or Insane Clown Posse listeners, you're probably going, what the hell is Skankfest? What are you doing at Skankfest? What is that, some porn convention? What is this, one of your dirty little secrets, Jeff, where you and your little creep friends go creep around looking for skanks? Skankfest is a comedy festival that was started by Big J, Louis J. Gomez, Dave Smith. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody else. Kimberly Congdon, I'm guessing, is part of that upper circle or upper tier when it comes to these festivals. They've been doing it for a long time. And for me, it's an honor just to be invited. I like when I'm a part of anything, let alone if it's something that maybe I'm not considered to be and they still want me to be over. You might have seen me do podcasts like Story Wars or the Legion of Skanks. These comics have started their own army, and the fans have been great. I see a lot of fans conflicted when they see me. You know, you can tell there's people here that hate my comedy and hate what I'm about, but that just kind of comes with the territory. For the most part, 99% of everyone here has been so cool and so awesome, and it's been fun to see. Sometimes these festivals can be tough. I think I might have talked about on this podcast before about how sometimes it can be tough because, you know, comics roll solo. You know, we roll the road together. We roll the road alone. We write alone. We're in our heads alone. When you start this job, you're by yourself, just wandering into a comedy club. And yes, you accumulate friends. Yes, you travel with your openers sometimes. Yes, when you get to the venue, you meet other comics and you break bread that way. But for the most part, when you show up to a comedy festival and there's just hundreds and hundreds of comics and, you know, they're all in one place, you start asking yourself, where do I fit in with these comics? Like, who have I talked shit about? Who has talked shit about me? Who am I good with? Who am I not good with? You know, you start overthinking those things, so it can very much feel like a junior high or high school cafeteria. You're going, where's my table? And if I went to that table, would I be cool to sit down? If I was able to sit down at that table, would it even be enjoyable for me? Would it open up this new tier of friendship? Like, you kind of overthink all of those things. I felt it at Montreal. I felt it at Moon Tower. I felt it at prior Skankfest, the one I did in Vegas. But for this one, I don't know if it was just my mental preparation or the fact that things have been going so well lately. I'm not sure what the difference was, but I was able to just chill and relax and enjoy who I saw and not care if someone walked by and gave me a dirty look. Like, you know, it was very, very fun for me to be here. I did a few sets, got to do a set with Jeremiah Watkins, who I adore. But it's funny because the set that I did with that show was just me riffing. You know, the audience shouts out things and then, I riff about it, which goes against all the things I've talked shit about, which is very funny. I always am criticizing those type of things, which I'll get back to in a second. And then the other set I did was in the Creek in the Cave tent, and I think it was called that, Creek Cave Tent, I'm pretty sure. And it was awesome. So much fun. People came in to see me. I was almost teary-eyed last night thinking about how the fact, like, so many people were like, we made sure to see you. We had to see you, and so we went. And I was like, wow, that's a nice feeling. I haven't had that in my career where people are seeking my shows out and wanting to be there, so it was very great. All right, back to what I was just saying. I criticize all the types of things that happen at these kind of festivals. Which just shows I just want to be included. Because then once I'm included, I'm like, no, it's fun. Everyone should have a good time. But this festival has so many fist fights, naked roasts. It has, there's, when I say fist fights, I meant like boxing in a boxing ring. There's a lot of like kind of these gimmickier things, which are fine. They're all a part. There's a place for all of this stuff. But I've always been like, I tell jokes. I ain't doing all this stuff, which is probably why I didn't get as many sets here or as opportunities. It's like they know if they email me, Jeff, can you box Luis Gomez tonight? I'm going to say no. They know if they go, hey, want to roast with your cock out? I'm probably going to say no. Definitely going to say no. And maybe they know that, so that's why I didn't have as many things at this festival. But it is fun to be a part of and fun to do. Two things happened in the roast that I thought was fascinating. I wasn't at the naked roast. I don't really care for the nudity or the roasting, but someone told me Zach Amico, who is a fellow wrestling fan and a comedian and podcaster. You should look him up, Zach Amico. He's great. He had a roast joke where he goes, Jeff Dye, the comedian, is at the festival. Jeff Dye, which is also what I think when I hear his opinion about women. That was one of the roast jokes. And another roast joke was something like, I don't hate gay people. I'm not Jeff Dye. And that was by a female comedian. And, they're roast jokes, both of which didn't get good laughs. And that makes me happy that they didn't get good laughs. One, because they're just not great jokes. The insults, though, also are fascinating. The two insults were that Jeff Dye must hate women and Jeff Dye must hate gay people. So let's just address it. Let's just address these things. I don't hate anybody, and if you meet me, I'm having a good time, and I'm trying to have fun, right? Now, what I find fun is to be naughty. I think it's fun to be on stage and be like a little piggy in the mud, I think it's fun to be up there and be naughty. It's what we're witnessing on all these kind of social medias and things. Is like, it's fun to be rebellious. It's fun to be those things. Now, a negative person will go, oh, that's shock value, or that's easy, or that's low-hanging fruit, or that's dumb. I don't care what they say. I think it's fun to be naughty. And sometimes when you're doing a show, you make fun of ladies. That's naughty. And if that don't work, you make fun of gay people. That's naughty. And then, if that don't work, go racist. That's naughty. Like, whatever the thing is that's naughty. I don't mean it. I got no problem with women or gay people or any other race, but those are naughty. It's going to make me look it incites a reaction. And if you want those things, if you want me to not joke about those things, then stop being such a fucking baby about it socially, and then it won't be edgy anymore, and then I won't be able to get the laughs on making those jokes. This whole kind of thing that's been happening long before I was ever born of being politically correct. There's been comedians trying to stomp out being politically correct since long before I was born. Lenny Bruce, Bill Hicks, all these guys. Whereas now a lot of comics themselves are trying to be PC. Like, there's this movement of like, no, that's wrong. To joke about those subjects is wrong. To joke about those subjects is hack, to quote Mark Maron. It's like, no, you've made it such a social thing that now it isn't hack. It's naughty and fun to joke about because we're annoying you for being such self-righteous people about it. So that's why it's fun. I've said this 1,000 times on hundreds of different podcasts, but, being racist is bad, but it's funny. And being sexist is bad, but it's funny. These things are funny. Like, you need to bring medicine to these subjects. And so that's what jokes do. And that's what laughter does, is it pops the tension in the subject. It's been a great week. I did Joe Rogan. I did Kill Tony. I think those are the only two podcasts I did, but then I did multiple spots at the mothership at night. So stinking fun. I gotta say, these Austin trips are, they really start to make me feel good. I land, and then the second I land, they're like, when are you getting to the mothership? I'm like, I'm on my way, baby. Texas is cool that way. I feel welcomed. I feel wanted, and I feel invited. Also, Kill Tony is another one of those things where you can really get lost in the Reddit threads and the comments of Kill Tony fans. Not because there's anything wrong with Kill Tony fans, but it's fun for them to be naughty. Kill Tony fans are just like what I was just describing. It's fun for them to troll in anonymity. It's fun for them to comment evil things. I got multiple comments just this week on my social media of either Legion of Skanks fans or Kill Tony fans, or maybe they're not related to those groups at all, literally making fun of my dead sister who died in a car accident at a young age. And they were like, Janice won't be in attendance. Jeff's dead sister, like these things. It's probably the meanest thing you can say to me. And even then, it's not like I was clutching my pearls reading the tweets. I just thought to myself, this guy thinks it's fun to be naughty, and he's trying to get like a reaction from me the same way I will with audiences and my fellow comedian peers or opinions on this kind of stuff. So it's okay. It's fine. That's just how this stuff works. So sometimes we can read those things and get a little carried away. Like, does everyone hate me? You start getting in your head, oh God, what have I done here? I just wanted to be a fun comedian, and now everyone's mad at me, or everyone disagrees with me, or everyone thinks I'm a piece of shit. But that's just how the internet works. So all that to be said is, every time someone does Kill Tony, whether you do good or bad, don't read the comments. Don't read the comments, because you could have had the set of the year, got a golden ticket, you're on SNL now because you're such a great Kill Tony guest, or had a great Kill Tony appearance, and the comments will still drag you and find a way to hate you and find a way to be racist or sexist or mean or any other ist. So that's another reason, you hesitate to do a Kill Tony. Or the big criticism of me when I do Kill Tony is they're like, he doesn't say anything. He just sits there. He just sits there smoking cigars. Why even have him on if he's just sitting? Now, in my defense, it's hard to be mean on Kill Tony. Like, it's kind of got this naughty vibe where you want to like say these zingers. Or I don't really want to do that though, because they're young comics. And if you ever met me, like, I'm pretty nice to young comics. I was once a young comic, so I really sympathize with them, and I don't want to say bad things about them. So I am biting my jokes I'm holding in my jokes that might be mean or too discouraging for them to hear at a young comic age. That's why guys like Adam Ray dressed as Dr. Phil, or Biden, or Tony himself, or Shane Gillis dressed as Trump do so well on Kill Tony, is because when they say an insult or a funny joke about a young comic, it isn't really Shane Gillis or Adam Ray saying it. It's the costume. It's like Trump saying it or Dr. Phil saying it. Whereas if I'm going to insult a comic, like, that's me. It's coming from Jeff Dye. I just look like a dickhead. And so I'm already hesitating to do anything that I think is going to be insulting, especially on their big appearance for Kill Tony. I don't really want to throw any shade on that. But then the other part is, you need to address Tony. It's his show. And Tony tells you to put the microphone to your chin and look at him, and then he'll give you a chance to say your joke. Now that's great, and it's Tony's show. So of course I'm happy to play by Tony's rules. It's his thing that he's created. He's created this monster, and it's his to be daddy of. But the problem with that is that it does kill some of the comedic timing. So you lose some jokes there because you don't have the timing. A good example is like this latest episode that's going to be out by the time this is out, or maybe in a week. The other guest came up with a Chris Benoit joke before I could get to it. And I really wanted to. The comedian had a last name Benoit, and I wanted to do a Chris Benoit joke. And then he did a Chris Benoit joke because I was sitting there waiting for Tony to call on me. So, those are the kind of things. So one, I don't want to be mean, hesitating. Two, you got to wait for Tony to call on you. So that makes you lose those jokes. So you're kind of limited. And then one of the episodes I was on with a comedian named Rick Glassman, who is very over the top. His natural personality is very, he's in a constant state of shtick. Even if that is how he is, he's like that all the time. And it's very hard to be... It's hard to be yourself or funny around Rick Glassman. It's the Rick Glassman show at all times. And even as I say that, I'm not trying to be hurtful to Rick Glassman. I'm not trying to talk shit about Rick Glassman. That is just how Rick Glassman is. But you don't know how to connect It's very difficult to talk to Rick and know if it's even landing or if you're connected. So because that's so difficult, it's hard to be on a comedic panel and doing the things. I hope Rick Glassman doesn't hate me. I haven't heard from him since that episode. But he I hope that Rick when his head hits the pillow late at night, he can hear what I'm saying and then go, I hear what Jeff's saying. I am hard to be funny around, because Rick is talented and Rick is funny. It's just hard to be around Rick as and being able to be yourself and funny. So that's all. Those are my excuses for why my Kiltonian appearances haven't always been fantastic. This one, though, I am very excited about, and I had such a great time being on there. It was very, very, very fun, and I think people will enjoy my appearance on there. Going on to Joe Rogan the next day was so stinking fun. Joe is such a good guy. Just being around Joe is fun for me. I've joked about how whenever I'm with Joe, I just agree with him the whole time. I'm always like, I know, Joe. Yes, that's how I feel. Because two elements. One, I look up to him like a big brother, so I feel like his advice. There was a moment actually on the episode where he was telling me to stop worrying about what people are saying about me on the internet or on social media, and I almost could hear inspirational music behind him. I was getting goosebumps as he was giving me, he's like, Jeff, it's okay. They all work for you, dude. Every time they post about you and that kind of stuff, that's all for you. That's all positive. That's all marketing. Don't look into it. He was just he was building me up on the thing and trying to encourage me and steer me in the right direction. It was very, very healthy for my mental health, and it was great. So those are the reasons I like being on Joe Rogan, is because I can sit there and just get to spend 3 hours with a guy I like to think is my friend. A thing happened this week, before I yammer on about the other things in the podcast. The first thing we talked about was Ronda Rousey, and I was trying to tell him, I was like, yeah, but why it pissed me off is because you're my friend, Joe, and I wanted to defend you. Now, even though you're agreeing with Ronda Rousey and you're not mad at her for what she said, I'm mad about her. I'm mad about what she said because you're my friend and I love you. I'm friends with Holly Holm. I love her to death. And I'm friends with you, Joe Rogan, and I love you to death. So when Ronda Rousey says a bad thing about you or Holly Holm, I go, hey, shut the fuck up. Now, that doesn't mean that Ronda Rousey might not be a great person to her peers. Might mean that Ronda Rousey is one of the greatest pioneers in UFC. I don't give a shit. I'm a loyal guy. When I hear you say a foul thing about one of my buddies, I defend them, which is my last request, by the way, if I ever die, or to any of my friends that might listen to my podcast. All I really ask from you, I don't need $1 from you. I don't need you to hang out with me every day. I don't even need you to respond to the text messages we send right away. But what I'd like to think is that when someone's talking shit about me, you would say, actually, I think Jeff's a good guy. And I disagree with what you're saying, or, hey, Jeff's funny and he's nice, and that's really what I want. I would like when I'm not around for my friends to just say, actually, I don't think that's not how I view Jeff. Or, just to defend my honor a little bit. That's what I want. That's what me and Bert Kreischer have in common. Is that's all we really want from our peers, is that them to go, why'd you say that? Jeff's nice. Don't say he hates gay people. Don't say he hates women. Don't say that. He's my friend. So that's what I was doing with Joe on the podcast about Ronda Rousey or any of those other things. In fact, I was taking an Uber in Austin, Texas from the mothership, and I get in, and the girl driving, I'm not going to describe the way she looks, but if I was to profile, I would say that she's a very left-leaning woman. She had a lot of the stereotypical things, excuse me, of a left-leaning lady. Now, that being said, I get in the Uber. I go, how's it going? Pretty late, huh? You're driving pretty late? Just trying to make conversation with the Uber driver. And she's like, yeah, I drive at this hour. It's just better, for me. And I go, oh. She goes, yeah, I don't sleep much. I was like, oh, okay. So we're just small talking like you do with an Uber driver. And she goes, oh, you don't live in Texas? And I was like, nah, I'm just here working. And she goes, at this hour? And I was like, oh, come. We basically got down the path where I name dropped. I'm proud that I was on Joe Rogan, so I'll tell anyone who will listen. I'm not ashamed to talk about the things I'm proud of. It might sound like a name drop or whatever, but I like it. I want people to know of the things I'm proud of. You talk about your wife or husband or kids because you're proud of them. I don't have a wife or husband or kids. I have my comedy career. So I brag about it. I name drop. And so I was like, yeah, I was on Joe Rogan this morning. And then she immediately changed her tone or her whole demeanor changed. She's like, oh, we all hate him here in Texas. And in my mind, I was like, that can't be right. Like also, Texas is big, and I imagine most of Texas loves Joe Rogan. She might be in such a bubble that she thinks because her Austin friends talk shit about Joe Rogan. Anyways, it annoyed me so much. The second I heard her say that, I was just so like, I wanted to defend him. And I was like, well, I don't see it that way. I mean, maybe I'm in a bubble or maybe you're in a bubble, but I don't think everyone hates Joe Rogan. I love him. He's my friend. And I know millions of people who like him in my life and in my career. And she's like, yeah, well, I don't think that's true. People hate Joe. And she was like, just saying, she just wouldn't drop it. And I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't drop it. It bothered me a lot. So that being said, that's what a lot of the episode is just me showing my loyalty to Joe Rogan. I hope you give it a listen. This was my third appearance. So if you liked my appearance on Joe Rogan, go back and watch a couple of the other ones. They were very, very fun. On the episode, I talked about how I'm moving to Austin. I said, I got to get out of here. This Gavin Newsom, and maybe I'm a victim of my algorithm, but this Gavin Newsom scares the fuck out of me. I said, scares the shit out of me. And since then, Fox News and a lot of people have picked up that quote and ran articles on it today, which shows how slow the news must be. And also they're setting me up to get dunked on too, because one of the things said top comedian. I mean, I'd like to think that's true, but I don't know why, that gives people ammunition. Like, I don't know if he's the top comedian. I've never even heard of him. And then another one was A-lister. Called me an A-lister. That's never happened in my career. I've done a lot of TV and I've done a lot of stand-up comedy, but I very rarely, actually this might be the first time ever. It's definitely the first time ever in an article where someone has called me an A-lister. So I was flattered, but that also put some ammunition in the hater guns, but that's okay. So it said that I'm moving to Austin, and it is true. I'd like to get on out of here and go to Texas because it's funny to say out of here while I'm sitting in New Orleans. Get out of Los Angeles and go over to Texas because Gavin Newsom is, Let's talk about it. Maybe you like Gavin Newsom. I'll tell you what scares me. And again, I might be a victim of my algorithm, but keep that in mind. Gavin Newsom has been yammering for over 2 decades. That's a long time. 20 years is a long time. About how he can fix the homeless situation. How he can... there is a solution, and if he got the money, he would know how to fix homelessness. Homelessness has just got worse. By the way, he was saying this in San Francisco at first, and now he's saying it about California. Not only has it gotten unbearable, they're everywhere, in every big city. This isn't just a Seattle, Portland, San Francisco problem anymore. This is every big city you've ever been to. Whether it's Austin, whether it's Denver, whether it's Phoenix. These homeless guys are melting at 120 degrees and they have a homeless problem. There is so much homelessness and they want to blame the economy or they want to blame whoever the current president is or they want to blame the prices of eggs or whatever the fuck everyone yammers about on the right and the left. When really it's a mental problem as far as mental illness and it's a drug addiction problem or a alcoholism problem mixed with mental, that's quite a cocktail of problems. And I don't know if there is a solution, but he claimed he had one. Gavin Newsom claimed he had one, and he's been talking about it for over 20 years, and the problem just gets worse. Why wasn't he able to fix it like he claimed? Maybe because politicians lie, and that's what I should have expected, you might be thinking. But no, here's the thing. If he was just yammering for votes to try to get elected, then that's fine. That's okay. I get what politicians will just lie through their teeth to try to get votes. But what makes this different and why it scares me is Gavin Newsom has been given over $20 billion, and it's just gone. Not only was the homeless problem just getting worse and worse and worse, but we've lost $20 billion of taxpayer money just in California. That's not nationwide. That's California tax dollars, $20 billion. Dude, I've never lost $100 ever. Someone's never given me $20 and then I go, hey, where's that money? They go, what? I gave you the $20. You go, I know I lost it. Can I have more? Like they would go, what do you mean you lost my $20? Like, and we're talking about 20 billion. Do you know how much a billion is? Does anyone have any idea? Cheeto Santino talked about this. Andrew Santino talked about this on his podcast, but I thought it was mind-bending, so I'm going to share it on mine too in case you don't listen to Andrew Santino's podcast also. If you were to count to 1 million, just going 1, 2, 3. If you counted to 1 million, it would take you over 7 days of just sitting there counting. 7 days to get to 1 million. Now guess how long it would take you to count to 1 billion. Over 30 years of just sitting before you could get to 1 billion. Now this goof troop lost $20 billion that was supposed to go to a situation that's very serious. The homeless situation, very serious problem. He did, you want to talk about like, Bible quotes about helping the poor. I can't think of anyone more poor than the homeless, right? This isn't a SNAP, EBT, lower class welfare situation. We're talking about the homeless. Gavin Newsom has lost $20 billion, over $20 billion that was supposed to go to homeless in California. Now, when he's asked about it, what happened to that $23 billion that is lost, he goes, yeah, we're just as upset about that as you are. Who is? Who's upset about it? Who is we when you say we are upset about it? I know the public is fucking furious about it. I haven't shut up about it since I learned about it. Where did it go? What happened? I don't understand that. That scares me. Now, 2, he's been talking about building this light rail thing in California forever, like some sort of tram that no one's ever going to use. But for whatever reason, he's very committed to it, and he's gotten tons and tons of money for it. And there's no rail. There isn't even like a construction site where you could see that they started to build this thing that I've ever seen. I think I saw one thing that was like 100 yards long, but there's like when I drive on the 405 or the 101, I don't see any like, oh, there's that tram that Gavin Newsom was giving all that money for. Never seen any progress, and I know we damn sure don't have one. If there has been progress, I know we still don't have one. That's a shit ton of money that went in his pockets or went to his mortgage or went to his friends and family or whoever the fuck. Like, that's 2 things, the homelessness and now this big rail thing. Now, rich people, actors, successful people that everyone hates because they have some success and wealth. That's the new thing to do, is hate anyone that has more than you. You're the oppressor and I'm the oppressed because you have money. I don't care how you earned it or how you got it. You must be bad because you have all this money. Now all their houses got set on fire. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy and a lot of, different opinions of how these fires started or how these fires got so bad or how this could even happen or how, there's a lot of different ideas and opinions about how the fires started. Some would say we should have never even been in that position if we'd have been using our tax dollars to do the right things to, make sure the palms on the trees aren't falling and staying there, which is very flammable, creates kindling. Some believe it's a conspiracy and that the government intentionally started these fires like people believe they did in Hawaii, allegedly. Some say, they were setting these houses on fire so they could build these smart cities that they could later. There's a ton of opinions and conspiracies or arguments that the insurance companies who dropped their fire insurance plans months before this happened. There's so many different things we could talk about in the fire situation that happened in the Palisades and all these other fires that happen in California. Now, whatever your take is, whatever your opinion is, one thing we could all agree on is that before, during, and after, it was handled terribly. It was handled terribly. Now, it makes a lot of people want to flee. It makes them want to get the fuck out of California if this is the guy that's in charge. He's going to take your money to fix the homeless and keep it. He's going to take your money for a tram. You'll see no tram and he'll keep it. He's going to take your money from the fire relief concert with Katy Perry and he's going to keep it. Now, That's not a system I want to be a part of. I have no interest in sitting around and just going, well, that's how politics works. And, I don't want to get political and, oh, this is an uncomfortable conversation. And what can you do? I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go to Texas where I can, tell jokes at the mothership, and I can be around people who say good morning to me in the morning. They don't look at me and go, look at a straight white guy. Fuck that guy. Like, I don't like that. They might go, that's a little extreme. I've felt that multiple times in certain parts of certain places in Los Angeles. So I'm going to get out. And I'm going to be happy where I've chosen to look for homes in Texas, and that's, I'm very comfortable with that decision. I will forever fight for California, as far as I think that there's so many great cities and so many great places in California. I talked about it on Tommy Lauren's podcast, is that like if you go to Bakersfield or you go to Ojai or you go to San Diego, you go to, I'm trying to think of all the other little cities, Catalina Island. There's just so many good places you can go to in California that are just an hour apart from each other. There's so many great places that I didn't want to flee California. But it feels like they're going to set my house on fire and then give me $400 of relief funds. And I don't want to do that. So I will continue to defend California and, from a distance at this point. I don't think that it's a good idea to stay there, and I find it to be very, very scary with no solution. It's not like there's a fight going on. It's not like there's a debate going on. I keep meeting girls who are admittingly socialists and Marxists. They call themselves Marxists. They call themselves socialists, and they live in Los Angeles. And I imagine if they heard this, they'd be like, shut up, Gavin Newsom rules and Karen Bass rules. Well, guess what? Bye. I'm out then. If that's the way we're going, if we're gonna end up like New York City with Zobamba Baba Dombi, I don't want to be a part of it, and that's okay. They don't want me to be a part of it anyways. There's this great song by Joe Purdy. I just reminded myself of it by saying, you didn't like me anyways. It's all these angry, when I think about it, all these angry female comics, that hate me and they hate my takes. I'm like, well, you didn't like me when I was nice anyways. And it's a great Joe Purdy song where he kind of says that, where it's like, why do you care what I think? You hate me. And why do you care where I live or move to? You don't like me anyways. Even when I'm nice to you, you treat me like shit. So who cares? Fuck off. I don't care. You didn't like me when I was nice, so why would I care what you think about my bit about a subject you knew you'd hate? Another thing that I've noticed happening while we're talking about female comics or we're talking about women in general or whatever, and why I'm excited to get out of Los Angeles and go to Texas, meet some Texas women, is it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong or comment below or whatever you think, but it's like, so many times in my life, and you got to keep in mind when I say this that I've lived in Seattle for a really long time and then I moved to Los Angeles. So I've kind of only really lived in these like liberal cities, unless you count growing up. But in my adult life, it's always been very liberal cities. And the things a woman claims she wants a man to be, and this isn't a political statement. I'm not talking about being liberal or being a Democrat. But a woman will want a guy who's in touch with his feelings. And they want a guy who, isn't afraid to appear feminine or like girl things or any of this bullshit. And they like these small, tattooed up feminist guys who wear women's t-shirts and work at the coffee shop. And they love these kind of guys, this androgynous kind of pussy-ass guy. But what's funny is that they don't really like him. They like him socially, but they don't want to date him. They don't want to fuck him. They clearly don't really respect him if you see the way that they talk to him and their behavior. It's like it feels to me like what they claim they want is not really what they want as much as what they want to be around. They're naming how they'd like their world to be, but they don't want to be with that guy. So what happens is they end up going, fuck, where have all the men gone? It's like, you ruined them. You neutered them with soy milk and fucking gay shit and stupid T-shirts. And so, like, it's like I'm watching kind of this movement happen of girls go, I hate to admit that I want, like, a strong man. I hate to admit that I want a man who's in charge. I hate to admit that I want a guy who will pull a chair out for me and pay for dinner. Like, they hate to admit that to themselves because they've all been psyoped by some sort of strange feminist, socialist, Marxist kind of ideology, because that feels like great. It felt like that's all they've kind of known if they're young enough. And so, but then at the end of the day, they go, man, why am I turned on to that guy who's acting like a man? It's because being masculine is kind of what they're drawn to. It's the yin to the yang of being feminine. So when they see these things, they go, oh yeah, you know, I guess that is in my nature to appreciate someone who is a protector and a provider and loves me and protects and provides for me. But it goes against what they've been told, you know, that the patriarchy is ruining their whole life is them being imprisoned by men, and it goes against all these things that they've kind of been taught and embraced. So it's funny to watch that happen. But I'm happy to go to Texas. I'm happy to go to Texas, where the women are, you know, are fine with being feminine and fine with being women, and they like boys, and they don't see any shame in having babies and wanting to take care of the baby that they love that came out of their body. They see no shame in that. They don't want to go work. And I mean, they can if they'd like to, but they don't see any shame in, you know, being with their babies. They don't see any empowerment in going to a 9 to 5 and having their husband stay home and breastfeed the baby. You know, they don't want it to be like that. And so that's the kind of girl I'm pursuing is you know, a nice conservative feminine lady. And one of the most viral things I've ever said in my life was, I said on stage in Seattle, this show, actually I think it was in Kent, Washington. I said on stage, that's my favorite thing about a woman. She's not a dude. I love men. I like being around men. I you know, they're great, but I don't want to date them. I'd like to date a woman. I want a woman to be in my life. So I think Texas is going to help me find that partner that I desire. What else can we talk about? Oh, let's talk about my buddy Ben Lopez, and then we'll wrap this up. I have a friend named Ben Lopez. He owns a business, and he has employees at this business who are of many genders, okay? There are people in his business who are male, female, non-binary, gay or straight, which is not a gender. So he has people that works for him. That are of many genders and different types of sexuality. Some would say diverse. All right. That's what you do when you hire people. You hire them based on their resume, based on how you think that they'll be able to work for you in the workplace. Will they be difficult? Will they be fun? Will they be easy? What attitude do they bring? I'm imagining if I was hiring someone, these are the things that I would consider. Nowadays, you also consider their gender. And nowadays, you also consider their race. And nowadays, you also consider their sexuality and their genitals. I guess that's part of it, because the only way to show you have a good workplace is if you have diversity. Not diversity of religion, not diversity of thought, not diversity of opinions, because that is somehow problematic. But you need to consider the diversity of their color of their skin, which they can't control, their sex, which they can't control, their gender, which I guess now you can control, and their genitals, which now you can definitely control with these evil doctors that are in place. Now, all that being said, Ben Lopez is a fair man and an honest businessman who hired people of many different walks of life. Now he's probably regretting that, because he hired some people who are now suing him and calling it an unsafe workplace because he shares on his social media, not the business's social media, his social media, clips of my comedy, or things from Fox News, or an opinion from Megyn Kelly or whatever. But it's his social media. Shouldn't he have the freedom to be diverse in his thought, or diverse in what he believes, or diverse in his politics? Shouldn't he be able to do that? Evidently not. And in the state of California, evidently not. These people that he works for, his employees, by the way, the people that he puts money into their bank account for their work, they're suing him. And I'm listed on the lawsuit as like he shares clips of Jeff Dye. Yeah, it's comedy. I'm doing stand-up comedy. He's allowed to share stand-up comedy, but it's somehow sort of evidence against him that he's a bigot or a transphobe or a homophobe. And the fact that this is able to be used in court just shows how much of a joke California is. This is ridiculous. And also another reason it's ridiculous is they're able to still work for him. They still have jobs under Ben Lopez while they sue him for an unsafe workplace. And let's talk about that, by the way. What do you mean unsafe? What is this idea that anything you don't like is now you feel unsafe? What a dramatic thing to feel. I hear people say that all the time, like, oh, I'm a Muslim, so I feel unsafe everywhere I go when I wear my Muslim hat or whatever it's called. Oh, I feel unsafe because I'm a homosexual on college campuses. Oh, whenever I'm driving as an African American, I feel unsafe. I feel at any moment I could be killed. I feel unsafe. It's like, one, toughen up. If that's how you're going through life, just in a constant state of fear, you're either a liar or a pussy. Like, relax. You're not unsafe. Also, I find it hard to believe that these people feel unsafe. I feel unsafe with the presence of Ben Shapiro on my campus as a trans person. You're like, Ben Shapiro's like a 5'3" Jewish guy that's telling students to be monogamous and be more conservative and responsible with your choices as you age. And they're afraid of him. They feel unsafe with him on campus. We feel unsafe about, Charlie Kirk having fair conversations with young people, but then they'll be like, homeless people are great. I don't feel afraid of them. Oh, there's a 6'4" man in a dress in the women's bathroom, and I don't feel unsafe with that. I think that's great. It's like, what is your idea of safe and unsafe? And maybe you need to get that into consistency. If we're going to not let Ben Shapiro come to your college campus and talk about gay people and trans people, then let's fix up the homelessness. You're not afraid of the guy jacking off, yelling in front of the business bomb threats with a wrench in his pocket and a knife. You're not afraid of that guy, but you're afraid of Ben Shapiro. We've really lost kind of our idea of this. But I think more likely it's a leverage of power. Because when you start to say you feel unsafe, now you get to sue people like Ben Lopez. Now you get to get some sort of protection. I feel unsafe. Can you help me? I feel unsafe. It's so icky to try to manipulate language to get like everyone to coddle you. You know, it's like the girl in gym class when I was in third grade. She goes, I can't run. I have asthma. Now it's not just her being a lazy fat girl. It's about her condition. We need to consider her condition. Not only does she not have to do the thing that none of us kids do. We didn't want to run around. We didn't want to, we wanted to play, but we didn't want to run the 800 or whatever the bullshit track event they're making us run in class, in gym class, so we don't get fat from all the sugary foods they're putting down our throats. We didn't want to do that either. But not only does the fat girl get to sit out, but she gets extra sympathy. Hey, we heard about your asthma. Are you okay? Are you okay sitting there? Can we bring you some Swiss rolls and nutty bars while you sit here on your fat ass? It's like, what are we doing? It's a leverage of power to say these things. I'm going to put a link up where you can see the Ben Lopez thing, his legal fees. He's basically going to lose everything because it's so expensive to fight these cases. And these people that he works for, how dare you sue your butt? Just quit. Just quit your job and go find a different job and say, I couldn't work at that place. The last guy was an asshole. The last guy liked comedians like Jeff Dye and shared things from Fox News. He liked Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, well, then that's fine. You're free to go quit and work somewhere else. But to have the balls to sue your employer, exaggerate that you feel unsafe, and then also, continue to work there breaks my brain. Like, what a country that you can sue your employer and keep your job while you're suing them is... that should make you patriotic right there. Whoever these people are that are suing Ben should love America. The fact that they're able to get, taxpayer money to cut off their privates, but then also sue their boss because he thinks it's gross. Like, what a world. That is a fantastic country we live in. Listen, I love you guys. I am off to Australia as we speak. By the time this is up and posted, I will be in Australia. I also will be performing probably anywhere you live. You can go to jeffdyer.com to watch that. Rate, review, subscribe. Don't forget, I have a podcast with Freddie Prinze Jr. twice a week called Wrestling with Freddie, where you can listen to my wrestling opinions and Freddie's breakdown. I love you guys so much. I can't tell you how grateful. I'm feeling a tremendous amount of gratitude just about the way things have been going lately. I'm very, 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 very grateful about that. I love you guys. See you next week.